Case Study 0025 with podcast professional and homie Jake Quickel. Dracula, the original living vampire, Amelia Van Helsing, is on the desperate hunt for the killer responsible for a string of grisly murders targeting young women. So, Jake, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic.
Oh, that's good to hear.
How about you?
I'm all right. All things considered, I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
How did this movie hit you?
Well, I went in here wanting to like it, but I don't know about it ultimately. I'm not so sure how successful this movie is. I'm sorry to say, guys.
It's being promoted as a Morbius mockbuster.
Sure.
And I don't know that is anywhere in this movie.
I thought pretty hard about this. I think there's two for sure elements about it and that make it a mockbuster, but I don't know if that counts because did you covered Avengers Grimm Time Wars, right?
Yes.
So
well, kind of. I watched the first one and my guest watched the second one, not knowing that there was two.
Oh, okay, gotcha. That sounds fantastic. So it's the same director, and I felt like that, even though that one's dancing around the edge of a mockbuster, that one I can see how it's kind of an Avengers ripoff. I get it.
Right. It's pretty obvious.
Yeah. Whereas this one, I think it's just down to the weird preoccupation with science that no one in the audience could possibly give a shit about.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The extended scenes where they talk about anticoagulants.
Yep.
It's I really don't give a shit. I don't care. But I think they're hitting that super hard because it's he's a living vampire. The way Spider-Man in the Raimi ones has webs out of his, that weird distinction.
Right.
But who cares?
Yeah.
Why is that important?
Yeah, no. I don't.
That's the biggest through line.
They already put it in the title. We don't need to explain it 50 times the same way in 50 different scenes.
No.
It's fine.
No.
All right, let's get into the story.
Why not?
Also, I thought this movie was beautiful. For an asylum movie, this movie was gorgeous to look at.
It is pretty nice looking. You're 100% right. One of my favorite things about it is that I'm not entirely certain how many actual physical exteriors are in the movie because I think a good chunk of them are just computer generated, which I think is really interesting that you pointed out was shot in Serbia.
Right.
So why would you go to Serbia for the different architecture and then just not use it?
Yeah, it's weird. Did they get a good deal on an interior of a place?
Right.
Did they? I don't know.
Yeah, I wondered the same thing. Or was it we have this bang up crew, they will work for nothing and they'll make your movie look pretty professional because the credits are all Eastern European names.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm not sure how to pronounce the squiggle on the end of that G. Or that Z has an accent squiggle I don't recognize. Is that a Z? I'm not sure. I'm sorry to...
It's like a G, but not.
Sorry to the Eastern European listeners. I would love a lesson. Anytime. Please correct me. I love to learn.
All right, so we start off with this, what I saw as a very, not at all my so-called life. You've got this girl with the red bob running away from this Jared Leto type character.
Right.
And then he catches up with her and they make out. And this is where, I don't know if I've said this on this podcast before, but I hate sex scenes so much.
Okay.
I hate them with a white hot passion.
Well, this one's extra long. So good. You're in for a treat here.
Yes.
I feel like every time I see a sex scene, I still feel like I'm watching it with my Christian parents.
Yeah, I get it.
I hate it.
Yeah, you're like,
if I'm gonna watch someone doing it, I'll watch porn.
Right.
I don't need to see it in the middle of a really fun Dracula movie.
Right. So this felt like a Reddit like sex date setup. You know what I mean? Like, I'll be standing on the bridge I'm gonna dye my hair red. And I've seen your pictures, so like it's cool.
Right.
You can come through and like swoop on me. Well, you know, like it felt like it did not feel like something that just happened organically in the 1890s.
Okay, and then we have to talk about this. What fucking year is it?
Okay, I did have pretty.
What?
Okay, I got you.
Okay.
Let's get into this real quick. The Luger, which is the gun that our protagonist has, was introduced in 1898 and was in service till about 1949. So a big chunky window.
Okay.
Electric light comes into Europe pretty quickly in 1881. So we're like in probably the 1890s, and then Dracula's 1897 is written in it. Okay. So I feel like it's surprisingly they're dead on.
Accurate?
It's surprisingly correct because I had tons of questions and I looked it up and I'm like, oh my god, the window is exactly right.
Okay, see, the Luger threw me off. I was like, this is
too.
like what, the 40s then?
The electric light.
Yes, there were candles everywhere except for when there were lights.
Yeah,
like what the fuck?
Right.
And then there's like open and out lesbians.
Right.
Shortish skirts, revealing-ish clothes.
Yeah. You know, Europe's always been different, though.
Shut up. Every 5 minutes, I wrote down, what the fuck year is it? Because none of this makes sense.
Right.
So I came up with a theory that it's actually an alternate dimension.
Okay.
And all of this stuff is taking place at the same time. It's like there's no cell phones, but it is current.
Right.
But also everyone reads the newspaper and also they prefer candles. And so I'm going to go with my theory.
Okay. That could be possible because it is essentially, if we haven't said it yet, but this is a gender swap movie. It's a sloppy gender swap. They didn't quite do like a 1-to-1, which I think they probably should have, but whatever.
Yeah.
Would have made it a much better movie if it was Mina Van Helsing. Sorry to say. Right? Like,
yeah, totally.
But in any case, it is a gender swap. So maybe it is like a, Earth 2 type of situation.
Thank you.
Yeah. Whatever it is, I was happy to know that they had Manic Panic in the 1890s.
Yes, that was the other one. The red hair was like cherry red. It was not real.
First Girl has streaks. They did that right before they shot. I was like, no.
Right, and a bob.
Right.
They did not wear bobs in the 1800s.
No, they did not. No.
All right. So they're done doing it, and the next scene, we get corpse tits.
Yeah, we get one actual... Well, this is like, we get two scenes, because I know these things, where we get live human tits, and this is the first... We get one shot, very like... it must have been in the contract, was like, okay, face pan down. We're just not going to cut to it. That's trashy. We're going to pan down.
Right.
And so there's one scene during the sex scene, and then the rest of the 10-minute sex scene, you never see anything. So that didn't seem accidental.
10 minutes.
And then from here on out, it's just corpse tits.
Yeah, it's a free-for-all.
Every single scene. It's insane.
Yeah. And the police captain, I guess, Renfield.
Yeah.
He's reading a newspaper that has the story of this woman's murder on the front page already.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, the timeline is what's happening in any of this.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Somebody was like, by the angle of the blood splatter means he was on top of her. She saw it coming.
Oh, yeah. I wrote...
He has a name, thank you.
I wrote her. Next to that. I also called Dracula's move is the Dracula dick down and drain.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's pretty much it.
That's what he does. He might even use that in the tagline on his Reddit post. I'm not totally sure.
So I guess we're going to the morgue now?
Sure.
I mean, they're investigating. They see a corpse lady.
We got it.
They're investigating.
We paid for Michael Ironside. We may as well use him.
How much fun did he have doing this movie? He could care less about this movie.
I mean, I think he straight up got to ad-lib most of his lines. I feel like they told him roughly what they wanted out of him in the scene, and he was free to say whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
At the end of every line, he kind of looks at the camera like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, seriously. It's amazing.
It's great.
Yeah.
And Amelia Van Helsing, they're checking out the corpse tits at the morgue. We get both of them in this scene.
Right. It's a lot.
Yep. And she's like, I hate to say it, but I think this is a mass murderer. Oh my God.
This conceit went on just far too long. When your conceit, like at first I was like, oh, maybe they're trying to trick us. And it turns out it's like a Bathory type situation or whatever, where he's like really killing them and drinking their blood. He's just normal dude. Mm-hmm. So they run with that for, really the most of the movie until she just looks idiotic at some point. Like she just looks straight up like, as a detective, do you have a difficult time processing input? Do you get new data and you find it difficult to kind of put it somewhere in your head?
She was like watching 3 seasons of X-Files and Scully just would not give it up.
Right.
You have seen aliens. You have seen Bigfoot.
Right.
You have been touched by the Lord. This shit exists. Yes, come on.
Exactly. Seriously.
All right.
Yeah.
So they're at the morgue and Amelia's like, hey, can I have that blood? He's like, oh no, whatever, that's my blood. Like, there was such a fight for that blood. It was so bizarre.
Yeah, it was.
She's like, yeah, whatever, I'll get it back to you. It's fine. Next scene, they go to her apartment and her lovely wife or girlfriend, I don't know what it does matter.
It's wife. She says it at the end.
She does say that at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe they got married in between the scenes, but it's possible.
Right. We missed the good ceremony.
Yeah.
She's like, I got this great thing at work. I'm helping this dude. That's another thing. Real estate agent from the 1800s. That seems way too current.
Right. Yeah. Jonathan Harker was just a lawyer. He was just able to sort out the legal details.
But she wasn't
weird.
Harker.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. They get the gender swap messed up.
They do.
She should have been Lucy. Who was Lucy in this, by the way? There is a Lucy credited.
I don't think there was a Lucy.
There is a Lucy. I looked.
There is?
And I had no idea who that character was.
Was it just like a rando?
Maybe it was the first woman who died. Maybe that was Lucy.
Perhaps.
I don't know, but yeah, because there was one, and of course, big surprise, they had never done another movie, so I couldn't look at their screenshot and then be like, oh, that person, because there was no, or their headshot rather.
Right.
There was no headshot.
Right. I mean, that's a sign of a quality movie.
That's par for the course here for Asylum.
Yeah.
One and doneers.
Love them. So Mina's like, oh, I got this awesome thing at work. Yay. And he's here right now.
Yes.
And it's like the gothiest goth dude ever.
And he's kind of rude, too. He's like
kind of a dick.
Not that cool. I'm like, why do you care? This guy sucks.
But she introduces him. She's like, oh, this is Dracula. I'm like, all right, mystery solved. We know who's killing all these people. Right. It's Dracula. Everyone knows who Dracula is. End of movie.
It's a big mistake to have your audience smarter than your smart main character is like a tremendous failure. You have blown it.
I agree. It was dumb.
Yeah.
And so everyone's so happy that who cares? It's like Mina's gonna do a job.
Right.
Dracula's.
Well, she'd been teased so mercilessly as a child. You feel for her the way that was conveyed in an anecdote that this beautiful woman was teased for her looks.
She's gone through a lot of trauma because she was teased mercilessly. There's a line where Jonathan is like, sincerely, oh, it's so terrible.
I know. I was like, I don't think that woman has been teased a second of her life. No. I'm sorry.
And later on, we find out she was teased because she had red hair.
Right, yeah.
Which, gross.
Totally sick.
Dude. I mean, if you're going to have some sort of weird, struggle, make it something that's, A, believable, and
she
B,
got boobs in 6th grade. Like, that kind of thing.
Thank you. Everyone was snapping her bra at recess, and it sucks.
It's just
we've been there.
You just give it a couple years. You guys will catch up. Yeah, but no, it's red hair. Oh, red hair.
No. So then we go to Renfield's office.
Mm-hmm. Dracula in this.
I know.
So I did a little due diligence. Swagger-free Dracula. He looks like he could play lead in like a melodic death metal band that like hasn't caught on yet. That's what I think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It turns out he was on a show in the UK called Glow Up, which is a makeup competition similar to Face Off. Do you know this?
Yes.
Did you know this about
I looked
him?
that up as well because he also has no photo on IMDb.
Exactly.
But he has 2 credits. So I was like, I got to see what this
Exactly. So I think Homie was hired because he could do his own makeup pretty good.
Absolutely. Even though the lighting fucked it up.
Yeah. Can you do a credible Morbius just from watching the trailer? Yes. You're hired.
He was very talented.
He is a very good makeup artist.
Okay, if you say so.
Well, I mean, I thought he was fine. I think he's good. I'm sure he worked under like pretty tight conditions and had like a budget constraint.
Yes.
I thought it looked fine.
In Serbia.
Yeah, exactly. Like his knockoff Morbius was fine. Good job.
It was I think that if the lighting had been better, it would have been gorgeous.
Right. That's
or
exactly
filters,
the thing.
Or something. But the makeup, it just looked cake. And this is stupid, but it just looked cakey and it looked like makeup.
These are valid criticisms, so you rip them.
Okay, thank you.
If you got it, like I was just like, sorry, no, I'm just saying, like I thought it looked all right. I mean, it was black, like lit, so his face was in shadow a lot of the time. You're like, why is there so much shadow on this dude's face?
Yeah, most of the time. To the point where I wonder if they like put something over him so you could not see him in like post-production.
Right, yeah.
Like, why?
Yeah.
That was insane.
I don't know. We need to darken this area by like 30%. Maybe the makeup did stink and I'm just being too nice. And like he had a big old goofball mark on one of the sides.
Yeah, the goofball mark will kill you.
Know what I mean? It's like it's going to get you fired right away.
All right, so now we go to Renfield's office.
Yes, we do.
And the shot of his office, it tickled me because there's like these 2 giant columns behind his desk and a deer head in the middle of them. And it looked like a deer poking out of some butt cheeks. And it was so funny to me.
I did not see the deer poking through the butt visual gag. I wish I did. I guess
it's
roll
classic.
It back. That's great.
Did anything even happen in this scene?
Not really. I feel like they do this thing around this time in the movie where they're like make it seem like they've never heard of a vampire for like about 20 to 30 minutes. I was like, okay, that's interesting. Like it is, the dawn of
like
the vampire fiction. Right. So they're like, what even could this be? What? But then about 40 minutes in, Jonathan Harker's like, you know what I think it is? It's a vampire, I think. And you're like, okay, well, so then they have heard of vampires.
Absolutely. They denied the existence of knowing the existence of vampires forever.
Yeah.
And then they're like, don't be stupid. It's not vampires. We all know the vampires are fake.
Right.
Wait, so no, choose one.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think because I'm trying to set up this tension that Van Helsing is this woman of like hard science and fact, and so she isn't given to leaps of logic and believing in fantasy. But again, she just looks like she's completely dense. It doesn't work. And even I think that's why they hit the like anticoagulant in the saliva bit so hard to be like, look, there's facts. But for some reason, she's still like, well, it's definitely not a vampire though. You're like, well, what else secretes?
It's obviously a giant bat.
Right. Exactly. Also, I feel like Andy Coagulants is like a pretty good, like, classic punk rock name. So anyone's free to use that if you like.
Some goth punk.
Right, yeah. Exactly. Exactly perfect. Like somebody who's like super into the Damned.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So now we meet Jonathan, and he's going to analyze the blood because he's the weirdo. He's the nerd who likes science.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one he's Harker.
Exactly.
He's the one who eventually brings up vampires. Eventually being in like 5 minutes.
He seems to be the only person who has his head screwed on. He has the dumbs a couple of times, to be fair.
Yeah, for sure.
But
for sure. But he's a big nerd, so everyone's like, okay, nerd, whatever.
I know.
No one believes him.
And he also sounds like he's sped up X5 every time he reads his dialogue, I keep checking my TV to make sure I haven't accidentally started fast forward. It happened 2 times while I was watching it. I was like,
I did not catch that.
It was very weird. Sorry, it might have just been a personal thing, but it happened twice. Oh, we're coming up on one of my favorites. This is when they're discussing that all this stuff is starting to seem impossible. Van Helsing's line is something like, impossible is an illusion you create when you have the advantage. And right now he has the advantage. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean, though?
No, but what the fuck did you just say? What the fuck did you just say?
I had to stop and think about it. And I wrote it down because I, was like, if you write it, maybe you'll understand it better. I still didn't.
Go through each word's definition
exactly,
one by one.
Exactly. But it still didn't make any sense. But that was one of my favorite lines because it takes so much for granted.
Yeah. No, that's the scene. She says this because Jonathan pulls out his brand new shiny book with the gold lettering on top that says Nosferatu.
Right. Okay.
Which, I mean, I guess if it's brand new, it would look like that. But
just
it was
came
hilarious
out
to me.
Yeah.
Exactly. He just got it at the book lender. So he's trying to explain to her how he's a vampire.
Right,
obviously, he is a Nosferatu.
No.
But the
illusion.
possibilities is illusion impossible, or whatever she says.
It's an advantage illusion, dummy.
Then we cut to another crime scene and more corpse tits.
Yep, this is, I think, the 4th scene with corpse tits. I was starting to count because it was getting super noticeable.
I just started writing down tits every time I saw.
Okay, yeah, that's about what I did. But this one, I put a number on it. So
that's a good call.
Yeah, I watched this with a friend. His comment was,
"I'm sorry."
It's fine. It's fine. His comment was, it was a real gender swap. Every shot would be corpse dick. I was like, yeah, that's probably true. They probably should have gone there. Just like, for some reason, the towel's off below the waist in the mortuary again.
It's covering everything but his dick. How did that happen?
Exactly. Yeah, it's totally a good point.
We find out this new corpse, her apartment was locked from the inside. So how on earth could she have been murdered?
That's impossible.
But you know what they say.
You know that old saying.
Everyone does.
Yep.
So now we're back at the morgue with some more corpse tits, and Renfield wakes up the corpse because she's a vampire, obviously, because that's pretty much what this movie is, as you could tell by the title.
That actress was excellent. She was so good at holding her breath.
So good.
I thought she blew it, and I watched the scene again, and she does start breathing when she opens her eyes. There's extended sequences when she's just on there. I don't think they made a dummy. That's just her, just holding her breath.
Right.
Really good at it.
I did not notice that.
Yeah.
I appreciate you for doing that.
No problem. What do you think the casting notice for this was like?
Oh, dude, I don't know that shit. You tell me.
So yeah, here's the casting notice. Casting notice for feminist gender swap of Dracula, must be willing to show tits. I think is probably something how it might have went.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. Did you get the othering part?
I did not write that down, but I did catch it.
I thought it was bizarre, so I can't remember where they talk about it.
But they made it sound like othering is a word that everyone uses for this specific situation, and I was like, I guess I just don't know this.
Well, othering is a term, right?
Right.
Yeah, so we
right.
know what the term means. It's to point out differences, to create division. That kind of thing. So I think what they mean to say is he's out there othering women and then killing them for their otherness. Yes,
that's what it was. And it's because they had red hair. Again, it's the red fucking hair.
I know, but they already had it naturally. So it's if anything, he's a fetishist. He's out there fetishizing women and then killing them for his fetishes. I feel was that an attempt to be low-key woke? We're feminists.
Absolutely.
Even though there's not really anything particularly progressive about this movie, and it's kind of a booby festival.
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
They couldn't talk about race, so they made it about red hair.
Right. And
it's pretty much it.
And they're but the main character is gay though. So it can't be. Like I felt like that was
my best friend is gay. Yeah. I can't be in Big A.
Right? Yeah, it's something funny. I feel like where Planet Dune succeeded as like a feminist movie, this one like tries to do the same thing and just like falls significantly short of the mark.
I didn't check. Was this movie written by a or multiple men?
One man, just one.
Okay, weird.
Surprise.
That's weird.
I don't think they usually. Well, Planet Dune was a co-written situation with a woman, so maybe that's
Oh, see,
Asylum. Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, because that lesbian sex scene was so authentic to the lesbian
experience.
Was.
Yeah. But at least the protagonist wasn't just straight up a dumbass like in this one. She was like a little bit of a dumbass at times when the story needed it. But this Van Helsing is stupid to the last.
Yeah. That whole othering scene started because I think it was Jonathan was like, you seem to be more concerned about this case than others. Yes. She's like, bro, people are being murdered. And othered.
Right.
And then murdered.
I think this is like before they have 100% confirmed that she's in a, same-sex relationship.
No, it was after.
Is this the weird scene where Dracula's in the other room and it just ends?
This is after that. There's been like the honey, I'm home situation and everything.
Gotcha. Because that scene where like Harker comes over and is like, I have all this news that makes it look like it's probably Dracula who's in the other room. And I just met him and he seems pretty sinister. And they've been playing this sinister music. And then this scene goes on and then they just leave and they cut to the mortuary or something. You're like, well, how did you get out of that sticky scene where you were in such close quarters with Dracula? And they're like, oh, I don't know, it just ended or something.
No, he left.
He leaves.
Dracula left.
He leaves, I guess. But the next time we are in that space, Dracula's still in the space. So I feel like, what did he just be like, okay, I'm leaving? And he hid the cupboard. They're like, okay, bye, Drac. And that was the end of it? Like, did he do any due diligence to make sure he left the front door?
Didn't he go to look at houses or something?
Yeah. Well, I think that, they were night lawyering. There's definitely
right.
But I don't know what kind of...
Is this the same scene where he walks by the mirror and Jonathan?
No, that's like, a couple scenes later because he misses a couple of things. Yeah, he misses a couple of very obvious Dracula things.
No, don't go there. Let's talk about
it. All right.
They have this othering conversation and Amelia goes back to her apartment and she, I guess, feels like there's someone in her apartment because she never sees anyone.
She says she's going to go back to her apartment and go over her documents, which I think is code for jerk off. I'm pretty sure that's what she's like. I'm going to be in my office going over my documents, Mina. So, make sure you knock if you need me.
I am very concentrating thing. Whoever was in her apartment runs out the door and she runs after them very concerned after she grabs her coat and her purse and her looter and she had to get a bunch of shit before she actually ran out the door, which made me giggle.
That is really funny. Girl, don't you keep that thing on you?
Right? She's got the fucking fanny pack. She doesn't need to let go.
If you are a real hard-boiled detective, you'd sleep with your gun under your pillow. Which just seems like a terrible idea. Or under the mattress, something like...
No, I mean, she's a lesbian, so she would probably have some sort of cuff on her thigh that she could shove it into.
Sure, there you go. Exactly, perfect.
Yeah. I don't know what happened here, but Renfield did a switcheroo where he's like, yeah, do that. I'm going to go do this. And then he looks into the dark and his eyes glow and then some shadow runs away, which was nice, but I don't understand the eyes glowing. Maybe it was a hypnotist thing where he's like, I'm under your spell.
I think that's what they were going for, but then they sort of dropped that ruse a little bit later and he's like, nah, bruh, I'm a vampire.
Right.
So you're like, oh, was he just a vampire the whole time? We never saw... No, there's no scenes in the daytime in this movie at all, right? Is there a single daytime scene? I'm trying to think.
No, I think there's a lot of dusk scenes, but no during the day
Theoretically, Renfield could have been a vampire this whole time, playing everybody.
Damn, why you gotta fuck with the story?
I don't know. I just kind of just occurred to me. Yeah.
This is a scene where Jonathan Harker comes into Amelia's apartment. And he's like, I got it. It's a vampire. I know it's all crazy. You guys, listen to me. Dracula is there. And he's like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
And whatever.
Yeah, that's the thing where you're like, hey, it's that same guy I saw last night. I never seen him in the day. You know, this is where
That's
like
so
Harker kind of
weird.
gets the stupids, where you're like, hey, bro,
Yeah.
like there's a new guy in town. There's only 6 people in this town, and one of them's new. Like, what's the newly introduced element into this scenario?
Oh, he explains that
Yeah.
he's a night owl.
Yeah.
To be fair, there could be thousands of people in that town. They're just not night owls.
But this guy's a night owl, so
he's
I like how
night
that
owl.
makes sense to people too. Like, oh, he's a night owl. That's cool. That makes sense. We have, in the dawn of the early age of home electricity, people stay up all night frequently. I feel like that's like a more modern problem is what I'm sort of getting at. Like, they didn't have TV, they don't know how to turn off or all that stuff, you know, like.
What are you going to do? Read by candlelight all night?
Well, you can read by electric
light
boring. Now, so you can do that.
Okay,
but
fine.
like, so maybe every once in a while you're like, I go crazy and I keep reading all night and I don't get a good night's sleep. I feel like the next night you're going to get a good night's sleep. It's usually how it goes. So
exactly.
I feel like the technology isn't there to be a night owl yet.
I totally agree. Bullshit. We call bullshit on night owl.
Stamp of disapproval.
So Dracula and Jonathan are having a little conversation in the sitting room, and Harker just goes on to tell Dracula his fucking goddamn life story. Right. Oh, I've known Amelia since we were children, and on and on and on. Bro, is this how you talk to someone you just met?
You need to exercise some filtration, my friend.
Thank you.
You know, he don't care.
Thank you. And no wonder he doesn't pick up on Dracula being a vampire, because he won't let him fucking talk.
He's just talking about himself. He's like the worst paranormal investigator. Just talks to ghosts, and they're like, Jesus, I wanted to tell you that I'm, you know, an evil spirit, but you wouldn't literally let me get a word in edgewise. Seriously. You talked over my brains. Like, come on, man.
Well, you're confusing ghosts and zombies, but
I was
fine.
just, like I said, I was just making him a parent. You know, we can get into it. Those were Return of the Living Dead zombies. But yeah, he's the paranormal investigator, a bad one.
Yeah, he was.
Just a bad.
He need to listen more than talk. That's how you learn.
Does Columbo just get in there and talk at people? Sometimes, but that's to get them talking, and then he shuts up and lets them
tell on themselves. That's right.
Exactly.
Dracula's going to go look at houses in the middle of the night with candles or whatever.
Yeah.
And he walks by the mirror, and that's when Jonathan's like, oh my God, there's no reflection.
Yeah.
And then Amelia has to explain how mirrors work to him.
Right.
And what? What the fuck? That made me so
angry. He's like, okay, maybe you're right. Maybe the angle was weird and I just didn't see him. And at that point, you're just like, look, Amelia, look.
I mean, you just proved his point because you just stood in front of it and he could see you.
Right.
And then you walked out. No, you are proving nothing, Amelia. Your science sucks.
For a good chunk of the time, I thought this movie might be smarter than I was giving it credit for. And it was going to turn out to be Amelia all along on some like serial killer type shit or something like that. Like
that would have been amazing.
Because they go for a good chunk of the movie, they don't actually show anybody being bitten by a vampire and drained. I don't think. Like they cut away.
I don't think so.
So I felt like they were trying to do that, and then maybe around this time is where they drop it. You just realize, no, she's just thick as a brick.
Yep.
Speak of the bat.
Hey, yeah, I wrote that too. What?
I feel like that was an Ironsides line, right? I feel like he just got to throw that in there. Yeah, because you're like, speak of the devil, speak of the devil, speak of the bat. What?
He's like, wait, you're going to ruin the whole plot of this movie if you say that. No, it's fine. Just leave it in. He said it. It's fine.
Exactly. Well, that's when he starts. That's the whole science lesson. That's when they really start hitting the like anticoagulant vampire bats.
The blood thinner and the saliva.
Parasitic. Yeah. Yes. That's the beginning of that whole compelling plot thread. He sort of spills the beans, and then Harker enters. Not Harker, Renfield is
Renfield, yes.
Hey, I was here all along.
What up?
You know.
He was basically proving, Ironside was basically like, hey, it's not a guy, it's a bat. It's cool. We don't have to look for a murder.
Right, exactly.
And then Renfield's like, oh, fuck you. It's not a bat, it's me.
Totally
or
me
someone
and my
else. Whoa.
I had to look up. It's Dr.
And he fucking stabbed him.
This is what I wanted to talk about. You have a straight razor and a guy in a chair. I stabbed him over here. And I stabbed him over there. Bro.
No throat action whatsoever.
You gotta go for the throat. This is dumb. I know we couldn't get the effect that we need him in the next scene for some reason. We sort of don't kill him off, but then we do. Which was just like, why was that? What was that about?
No.
I feel like,
that was just like surface cuts.
I feel like you could
Those were flesh
have
wounds.
like taken, well, and he makes it through just like, despite being stabbed, he's fine. He's like in critical condition, except for he's fine. She says he's in critical. And then the next scene, he's like lounging in his PJs in a bed. That does not look critical.
No, and she's like, you cool? And he's like, oh, I've had worse things happen to me today.
Right?
Like what? What else happened to you today?
Earlier, someone tried to murder you. Worse? And
did you die earlier today?
Exactly. I feel like they could have cut the whole Renfield thing, that whole scene, and he just...
because it's nonsense.
And then he would have just revealed himself when he reveals himself, and it would have been the same.
Yeah.
Like, again,
Absolutely.
all it does is tell the audience something that the main character doesn't know, like, 20 minutes earlier.
Right, but we already knew. Yeah.
So it's like, just cut that, and then we can be like, oh my god, it was Renfield? Because I've never seen anything with the name Dracula on it. He's like, oh, the Renfield. You gotta watch out for the Renfield guy. Look out for him. He's gonna fuck you later.
Def the murderer.
Yeah.
I've got it solved. No problem.
Yeah.
Also, this is when we see more corpse tits.
Of course.
Next scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like she has Dunning-Kruger syndrome. You know what I mean?
What's that again?
That's when you're like, you're more convinced of your own competence than like reality would display. I butchered that definition, but yeah. You're not as smart as you think you are, and you think you're really smart, basically.
Yeah. Again, I'm sorry, but like every page, twice on each page is what the fuck year is it?
Yeah.
Because now Amelia is in Renfield's office looking for clues because Ironside was like, it was Renfield.
Yeah, he does. That's what he needs to do. That's like, that's that whole point of that scene is he has to gurgle out Renfield so she can go to the office. She's not a good enough detective to figure it out herself. Again.
Nope, she needs someone to hold her hand the whole goddamn way.
And then is this the scene with all the headshots of the profiles? I'm like all the Tinder profiles. Like, what world is this where they just find me all the attractive redheads and get me pictures and all the details of their life? Yes, sir. Captain of the police force, sir. Like, what the hell kind of operation are they running down there?
They're like full-on mugshots. Yeah. They were like ridiculous and like oldie-timey. They looked way more oldie-timey than anyone in the movie. Right. It was ridiculous. But they all had red hair.
They all had red hair except for they were black and white pictures, right? Weren't they?
Yeah.
So we just assume they have red hair because they told us that they did.
Exactly, because that was like the number one most important information that you look at when you're looking at a headshot or a mugshot. You're like, okay, I see what this person looks like, but what color is their hair?
What color? Please, I must know. I must other this one. Sorry, are you trying to say smother? What are you saying? What is that? Do you mean smother? What do you mean by other?
I don't fully understand what you're trying to convey to me because it's nonsense.
It's sort of on the borderline of gibberish.
They run to Renfield's apartment. Yeah. And this was another one where I was like, what the fuck year is it? Because I swear to fucking God, they walked past a bookcase that was filled with VHS tapes. I swear to God. I swear to God.
That'd be great. It had like a couple copies of Dianetics at the bottom. It's great. Oh, wow. I need to go back and look now.
Yeah, you do. I mean, I'm probably wrong, but that's what it looked like to me.
Right.
There's a standoff because Renfield's there. Amelia shoots him.
Mid-soliloquy.
And it didn't seem like a legal murder either. It was like full murder.
Yeah.
It was not self-defense.
Yeah. But the best part is like she's a crappy enough detective to be like, well, that's it for that case.
Time to relax at home.
Let's go other my wife.
That's disrespectful.
Is it?
I don't know.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm sorry if it's disrespectful. I feel like the word has lost some meaning.
We come upon Jonathan, who is reading books because that's what he does. And he's reading books about bats. Yes. Bats and Nosferatu.
Again.
And he realizes.
Yeah.
Renfield is a familiar. He's not the killer. He's just the dude that's doing all of the footwork. Duh.
Sure. Okay. This mystery is compelling.
Like it's so compelling. I had no idea. I was not expecting that at all.
Right. Nah. Never. I mean... That's not traditionally Renfield's role in every other version of Dracula that's ever been made.
Oh, yeah. So Mina's a target. We have to protect her. And it cuts to Mina sadly looking in the mirror because she has red roots in her blonde hair.
Oh, I hate
and this is where everyone teases me all the time. And this is going to be hair corner with Tressa now because she pulls out a little vial that the handwritten label says hair dye. And then she just starts to pour it on her roots.
Right.
And I'm going to call bullshit on many different levels of that. That is not how you color your hair. That is not hair dye. And that is poor application. Next scene.
I agree. And you are the expert. That was a terrific breakdown.
Thank you.
My favorite part is like we've established. So this next scene, this is where Dracula nabs Mina, right? So we've established that he does in fact have mesmer entrancement powers, right? But sometimes you just don't feel like entrancing. You just want to like pounce on somebody, put your hand over their mouth while they sleep. It's like there's no sexy wolf, the ripped wolf, or none of that stuff. Like nothing. He's just like, get over here. I'm taking you. It's very weird, very un-Dracula, I think. But maybe he was just like frustrated.
It's just fun.
Maybe that's what I thought too. Like he mixes it up. Sometimes I like to abduct. Sometimes I like to entrance. I just keep it fresh. You
don't want to be predictable.
Yeah. Maybe because like they don't really hit this hard, but it seems like he is not using the mental powers because it's important that the reincarnation of his dead fiance chooses him of her own free will. That's like a weird thing they sort of start to hit at the end. So maybe.
Right. So instead of mesmerizing, he tackles her and makes it so she can't scream and fight back.
And misses that she's a gay woman.
As winning.
I mean, she might, who knows? But I mean, she's married to another woman. So like, hey, bud, she's not for you.
She could be by her pan, but
she's not for you, though. Most likely, like she's married is the thing. I mean, maybe you could talk to Amelia. Maybe she's into a throuple thing, but you're gonna have to talk this out.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you don't just grab.
You can't just grab somebody in the middle of the night. It's not cool.
Poor form.
Bad.
No.
Bad move.
Jonathan goes on to explain what familiars are for a very long time.
Yeah.
And it's another one of those scenes where it's like, I have a lot of information that I've already told you, but I need to make sure I tell you again. And I don't care.
No. None of this stuff is interesting. No. The red hair thing is weirdly pointless, too.
Absolutely.
Is the red hair from the novel?
I don't think so, but I have no idea.
I didn't think so because I know like Lucy is the red-haired girl in the Coppola Dracula, and that's the one like the most faithful version that I know. Right. Other than like I've never read the novel. I'm going to full confess here. I've never read Bram Stoker's Dracula.
I listened to it to fall asleep.
Okay.
But it's about as far as
okay. Yeah. Paid by the word, it's just one of those things. It's hard, man. It's that old fiction where they serialized it. They were really using a lot of descriptive words.
Words?
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of them.
But so I ask because like I think the red hair thing is like huge point in the story, but it actually means nothing.
Yeah.
Like it's the only thing I guess it's there for is to be like, oh, the main character's wife is in peril because she's really a redhead. But it's like, couldn't she just have been in peril?
Right.
Because she's in peril?
I mean,
from a monster?
It was pretty obvious she was going to be picked by the dude regardless.
Right. He's already.
If she had red hair or not.
He's grooming her from like scene 4.
Yeah. There was no doubt what was going to happen there.
So that's just a bunch of talking. It's a bunch of talking about stuff, filling time. But I did.
That's fair.
And the anticoagulant stuff was more of that. I guess I think they were just like, he's a living vampire. Get it? Like, he's not a fantasy. There's the distinction. You're like, I barely understand.
Oh, see, I didn't get that. I just, like, the title alone was just like, so he's not undead. He's just a guy that's immortal. I'm not catching on here. I do
wonder if drinking the blood of a human without the anticoagulant in your saliva, is it kind of like drinking a McDonald's shake? Where it like gets stuck and you have to like let it sit.
Have you not been to a goth party?
I mean, yeah, but I never went to like any of those really like heavy goth parties where we like straight up drink blood. That must have happened in like the 2000s.
Yeah, it was
things got heavier.
I guarantee that this guy that played Dracula 100% cosplays as an actual vampire and drinks blood.
Oh yeah, you
absolutely,
think so?
Hands down. Mm-hmm.
And he's British? Okay. I was just wondering. That was a question. It was a question mark on the end of that statement. Sorry. He's British?
Yeah.
I don't know if he is.
I got the question mark, but I have no idea.
It's weird. I wonder, do you think that Amelia, a.k.a. I have her name here, Christine Prutti, was she hiding an accent? No, just no.
She was not British at all. She tried real hard at points.
It's like there's some kind of accent.
Yeah, it's her like, I gotta remember my elocution lessons. Oh fuck, I fucked that line. It's fine. The whole beginning, I was like, oh man, I wish she was British. Right? No.
I thought she might be Canadian trying to do a more American accent. That was my final takeaway. I was like, I think she might be from Canada.
I think you're right. Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So they start talking about the whole idea behind these murders is that it's a copycat murder of some murders that happened 100 years ago.
Okay.
Which I had forgotten because it was presented in like the first 5 minutes and then it just like went out
and then they start referring to it and I'm like, oh wow, could we get a real quick recap? Like mid-movie?
Yeah.
Nope.
Which they do.
They do? I still didn't understand.
They're like, wait, what was the deal with that again? And they're like, oh, well, what happened was these guys were, this guy named Dracula. Right. He, his wife died right before they could get married. So it was like his girlfriend or whatever. And then he just started murdering everyone. So we think it's like a copycat. And they're like, Dracula, huh? Weird.
So that's what I didn't understand. So they're calling the original, this is a copycat. These murders are copycats of the original. Yes. See, I thought they were calling the originals a copycat of another. And I was like, what? And I was like, oh, Dracula's immortal. Maybe every 100 years, he's like, all right, gonna see if Mina got reincarnated, I guess. What else am I gonna do? I'm immortal.
Yeah, why did it take 100 years?
I don't know.
The way they explained it was...
Why is it on any kind of timeline?
Confusing.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
Love doesn't
Love never dies.
Timeline. I don't know.
AKA Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula. TM.
This is, for some reason, this is where Amelia starts to believe that it could be a vampire. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is the part of X-Files where Scully starts to get it. Let's do this. They go to this castle, which is now a hotel, I guess. The whole like exterior and interior shots of this castle were...
Well, the exterior is berserk. It looks like Castle fucking Vania.
Yes, exactly. Yes. But it also looked like a weird fortress and nothing like the other one. Like I had no idea what I was looking at. And then the inside is like, you're at the Waldorf Astoria.
Right, exactly. Like, it was like, well, where's the swinging pendulum that I got to duck under?
Exactly. The key they have to Renfield's hotel room has the number on it, like a big hanging tag on it. And they're looking all over the hotel. And Harker's like, oh, I think this is it. Maybe it's because it's got the same number that the key does.
He understands how to use hotel keys. He's the smart one of the team. He's the research guy, so he's got to figure it out. Seriously. Is it? I don't know. What do you even do with that thing?
Which end goes in the hole?
This is the circle part. This is a grip, right?
They bust into the room, and it's just a bunch of slurping vampires slurping up blood off of slurped up bodies. So fucking gross. Again,
Yeah.
I will say a million times, slurping mouth sounds, I hate them so much.
Oh, do they hit the slurping ADR pretty hard? I didn't notice.
Oh, pretty fucking hard.
That's great.
It was like goth ASMR.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I didn't notice, but I might have been blocking it out. It's weird because, like, who's eating who in that scene?
No, it seemed like the vampires were cannibalizing each other.
That's what I thought too.
I don't think there were any people. It was all vampires.
Yeah, or was it like
that's not how
was the hotel staff just coincidentally hot and red-haired? So they were all
and shirtless.
they became shirtless because that's what this movie does. But like they started out in a regular cleaning person's uniform, and then it was like, hey, come in here. I'm gonna mesmerize you, or maybe grab you. I don't know, whatever. You want to come in here real quick?
I'll mix it up.
Yeah. I didn't quite get that. I got that they were going for like an orgy of death, but I didn't know who was orgied on and who was deathed on.
No. It seemed like it was interchangeable.
Yeah, it could have been. Well, progressive. Like, again, I think this movie's trying to be progressive, except for it's still trife as hell.
They walk into this insane scene and they look around for a good beat or two. And then Jonathan's like, what do we do? That's a great question. Maybe we should have worked this out before we jumped into this nest full of man-eating vampires.
Yeah. Homer Simpson gif.
Maybe?
That's what you do. Abe Simpson at the brothel gif.
Oh, but Redfield's not dead. He's there too.
So again, we're confused. He's been a vampire, I guess, the whole time, not a familiar.
Maybe he's nope. It doesn't work.
Feed him bugs and keep him hungry. That's like kind of how you deal with Renfield. Usually, you don't make him a vampire. He's out of his mind.
Right. He wants to be a vampire, and you don't want to give him what he wants because then he will not serve you.
Right. Exactly. Derp. That's the whole racket. That's the vampire familiar hustle. Shout out Guillermo.
Thank you. I think at some point this is when Jonathan, during this huge fight with all these vampires, has to explain to Amelia while they're fighting that she has to stake them through the heart. She's like, cool, no problem.
Bow, bow.
And then continues to A, shoot everyone, and B, stake everyone in the stomach and dick.
Right.
Not one heart shot once.
Right.
But it worked, so good for her.
Somehow it works. Stake them in the dick, heart, or shoot them. Well, it's a lot of choices, I guess. So just generally kill them? Just generally, cease their life.
They're
okay,
gotcha.
People. But they're undead, but they, kill them again.
I mean, we have established that gunshots do not work on these vampires, or at least not Renfield. Yeah. But it did on these vampires, and that made me mad.
Oh, you know why it was? You know why? Because of their pitiful modernity. Do you remember that line?
No.
Dracula is like, oh, their pitiful modernity. I am a creature of the eons, and I am stronger. He says a whole thing. It's a whole ass thing. I wrote down pitiful because I was like, what does pitiful modernity mean? What the fuck does that mean?
Is it a word?
I mean, modernity, obviously modern, so they're sadly modern. It doesn't mean, it would mean you'd say you're talking about their youthfulness, not their currency, their how up to date they are.
You are trendy. You are not like me. I am classic.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly right. It's like he's calling them trendy. I'm like, well, no, they're young. They're young vampires. You didn't use the right word. What you mean is they are so young, they are weak. But they didn't convey that.
Good job, Drac. There's one of my favorite lines is in this scene where the lady vampire has pinned Jonathan and she just screams at him, "Give me your blood!" I thought that was nice. Do you want it in a bag? I don't have a receptacle for this blood.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, how are we doing it? I'm fine. I could use at least a pint.
Dracula comes in a swarm of bats.
That was great.
Yeah.
And then...
And he immediately slaps the nerd.
He's like, not playing. Shut up, nerd.
Immediate open hand slap.
Yeah. At that time, I thought, like, wow, that would kind of suck if, like, somebody, like, bitch slapped you to death. You know what I mean? Like, they, like, broke your skull while they bitch slapped you. Because that's probably, like, what would happen there. Dracula's very strong.
For sure. Absolutely.
Except for Jonathan Harker keeps popping up, like, no, I'm okay. Like, 2 or 3 times after,
my
like...
rib.
Yeah. He's like, I have wounded him terribly. He'll never walk again. No, I'm good. It's fine. It's very weird. Yeah.
And this is where he's like goes into this giant monologue about how awesome and old he is. And it is
pitiful
long.
Yeah.
Yes. So much exposition, so much stuff we already know, so much just working out the clock there.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
She's like, you're him. You're the nobleman whose fiance died. Okay. You're just catching up now? Like, we've been talking about this for a while.
Yeah. Is the brilliant detective. Okay, great. It's like if Sherlock, I don't even know. Like, think about it. Like, if Sherlock was played by... I got nothing nice.
And she also threatens him with, you can't cheat death. Mm-hmm. It's his whole thing. He does.
This is
death.
my gag. I, in fact, do cheat death. Yeah, that's the whole thing about vampires. Yeah, I like that she does try to real talk him. Where she's like, that's my wife. Like, it's not your Mina reincarnate. That doesn't happen. This is fantasy. And he's like, I am a creature of fantasy. And you're like, okay, well, that's a relatively solid retort, I guess. So, good.
Yeah, you got it. And I got a little confused at this part because I was like, wait, is he just crazy or is he a vampire? Or
right.
And then I felt real stupid because I was like, this movie is making me real dumb right now. I know. Feel like I know this story and I should
dragging you down to Amelia's level. You're like, I don't know basic facts. How did I get this job as a detective?
Thank you. And I'm a woman in the 1800s. How did I get this job?
Well, okay. Just, yeah, sure. But it's like we've established it's an alternate timeline where like women are in same-sex marriages and they wear all whatever they want to wear. They dye their hair. It's still 1897. They shoot guns.
Electricity. Okay.
Yeah, totally. But then they kind of dispel that and just he turns into like bat smoke and then pops up behind her. So they're like, no, definitely he's a vampire. There's no question about it. In case you were following our terrible red herrings for this entire, what, like 63 minutes that we're at this point? 63 interminable minutes. Yeah, no, I'm a vampire for sure. And then he bites through her jacket.
Oh, there.
Bites her through 7 layers of clothing.
Oh, I totally forgot that even happened, even though it comes up at the end.
Right. I
Wink.
only know because I rewatched it. Because I was like, did she get bit? I was like, they're doing this whole thing. And I was like, but wasn't she bit in like 20 minutes? Did I misremember that?
Right through the shirtwaist.
My favorite part about it is that she gets him to stop biting her by stabbing him with a broken test tube. Like, oh, no, ow.
Owie. Stop.
I gotta stop and run away now. I'm like, I feel like he'd probably be like, just like the bullets. You gotta try with some holy water.
It's glass. It hurts.
Yeah, I hate glass. And it has like, maybe it was the anticoagulant sample, maybe that's what, were they going for that? I don't know.
I think it's just bullshit.
Effect that he leaves. He's got her on the ropes, but he's like, yeah, I'll come back. I'll get her later. I almost had her. See, I can get her anytime.
But
I'm going to go back to her wife for some reason.
Is the bedroom the part that is just like the ceiling is just a carpet of bats?
Oh, I love that. I was like, oh, you're in for it now. It's tons of vampires. Psych. Nope. It's just like an Atari level. Duck, and they'll fly over you. And then you can keep going. It was literally, I was like, you ever play like the Raiders of the Lost Ark or ET games where you have to do something like super obtuse to like move. Yeah. And there's like some like little weird ass move, and you're like, oh, I advanced somehow, I think, because the game changed a little bit. It was like that, where I was like, it wasn't even a real game mechanic, but it felt like gamey.
Right. You know, like I shouldn't have survived this just by ducking, but it's fine.
But luckily, it was just a cutscene.
Yeah.
Because if there was actual gameplay, I'd have to fucking fight 6,000 bats, and that wouldn't work out.
Can we talk about how bad that room has to smell with all those bats living in the ceiling?
Seriously.
Dude.
Like, what are the bats for? I thought the bats were the homies. They're just bats.
They're just
Why
bats.
do you have so many bats in there?
He's like the crazy bat lady. Oh,
It would be
see what I did there?
I love it. I love it. He's exactly that.
I mean, every surface of that room would be covered in shit. That's all I'm
Bat
saying.
shit. I mean, they're
Guano.
shitting up there. It comes down. There's just no other
That's how gravity works.
Place for it to go. So that love-making bed
Oh.
is covered in bat shit. Yeah. And,
Thank you for that.
Dracula's filthy, man. He likes it that way? Question mark? I don't know.
Dude, he pretends like it's not that way.
Right. Yeah, so he mesmerizes you, be like, no, the sheets are clean. Classic move.
You got me again, Drac.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus, Drac, when's the last time you changed? It's covered in bad shit. Blood. Whatever the fuck this is. Jesus, man.
Gross. Mina wakes up. She has a steak. Somebody throw her a steak? How does she have a steak?
I don't know. She does just seem to sort of have a steak. And also, God bless Mina, she seems to know what the fuck to do with it.
Yeah.
As opposed to everybody else in the rest of this movie that's like, I'm just trying the gun still.
Yes. Which brings me to the end of this scene where there's a kerfuffle and the girls are fighting with Dracula, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
They both charge him and somehow are able to overtake him and push him towards the window and open up the curtains. One, the whole place is darkened by curtains. How did they know the sun was up? Two, how did they know that would hurt him at all?
Yeah, they didn't listen to any of the other briefings.
No.
So all of a sudden,
and that briefing was never brought up. Nobody ever said anything about sun.
Well, yeah, Harker's the one who's like, Gross's work, by the way. The holy water. Like mid-fight. Right, those two things are conveyed. So, he didn't really give him the whole, like, okay, here's this, and this. He does not have that conversation.
And if he had, they would not have listened because
right,
as we've
established, at least Amelia won't damn listen.
Exactly.
To actual information. Who knows? But yes, surprise, it's daytime.
Whoops.
They always get him with that. Draculas and vampires, Draculas in general, have really shitty senses of time. It's the one really thing. Do. They're just, I've got all night. And then you're like, no, you don't. Like, shit, again?
If anyone should know, they should.
I feel like if I go outside at night, I don't instantly die. And so I don't really care if it's dark or light out, like in the grand scheme of things. Like, it's dark, it's going to be harder to see. But if it would kill me, I would know.
Yeah, for sure. I would
for sure be like, no. I see that window. I say where you're pushing me. It's not happening. I am stronger than you.
If I saw a street light and I was allergic to the sun and it would kill me, the street light would scare me. I always stay inside. I would look at a clock every 5 minutes if I were to go outside and something outside could kill me. Right. I would be aware of the time. That's all I'm saying.
I think that we agree.
All right, let's be vampires then.
This is foolishness. Yeah, let's be very careful, thoughtful, time-conscious, schedule-aware vampires.
The sound of Dracula burning up, and I'm sure no one else caught this because it did it sound like a rain stick to you? Because it was
I straight up didn't notice it. That is really amazing. Like they just didn't have like crackly sound in the library. So there's like, what about this? Does this sort of sound like it? I have a rain stick from 16 years ago when I went to
I got at the zoo.
Australia. Oh yeah, sure. I wasn't entirely sure where the origin was of
they originated at the zoo.
The zoo is where
the zoo gift shop.
Gotcha, I see. That makes sense. But so these three stupid asses made it, which is really surprising. It was like they're dumber, and like least dumb. Who's Mina? Mina is like the least dumb of all of them, although she is completely finessed by real estate wallet type concerns.
I mean, that's fair though. You get a job and you're looked down on, and someone wants you to be
because
there
you have red hair.
Right.
Yeah, it's it's relatable. Her like enthusiasm and willingness to like overlook red flags is relatable at least.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
They're walking out of this castle and the shot of them, like, I don't know. Jonathan's like, stop. I want to, and they're like, are you okay? And he's like, nope. Yeah, but I just want to look. And they all turn around and look at the castle. But it's just like the entrance, so you can't get a good look at any of the castle.
No.
This confused me. Like, did he just want to look at the doorway? Did he want to look at the windows above the door? Did he want to see the full castle? And he was just like, oh, it's so beautiful. I don't understand why this was something he had to do. I would totally do that, but I don't understand why this character had to do that.
Is this the scene where all the bats fly out? After there's a scene where bats fly out of the castle at the end, and I was like, oh, see, you didn't get them. I thought that's what they were going at. So. And then
I don't think so, because they just looked and it was just a building.
So that's just like maybe some red herring shit. I guess they probably build that in just in case somebody's like, it would be a good movie to make a sequel to, is this weird gender swap mockbuster. Thank you. That like. I think they must always leave them open, right? Like even a little bit. They have
to.
Okay, so so there's that weird shot of the castle with all the bats flying out, and I was like, oh, is that saying like he's still alive? But then some of the bats like in the background are like pretty seriously pixelated. They look like NES bats. It's weird. I was like, that did not have enough time. That shot didn't have enough time to finish it.
I mean, you don't get a lot of time with the mockbuster. It's like you gotta do it.
Most of the exteriors are pretty nice. Like some of those rotating shots are like really nice, but then there's that one where I was like, those bats are NES bats. Is that a shout out? What is going on? Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, maybe they were like, we need one more shot. We have 3 hours to make it. It was like, I will give you what I can in 3 hours. I'm trying really hard not to do like a terrible Eastern European accent.
I was wondering if that's what you were doing.
I was trying really hard not to. I was like, maybe take it easy on the accents.
I could tell you hold it back.
You can see it. I should try harder next time.
Now, do the bats fly out before or after we go to the marital bedroom of the lesbians?
I think it's the last shot of the movie, right? Yeah.
Okay.
The shock ending. First shock ending before the second shock ending.
It was a shock because I totally had forgotten she got bit.
I remembered, so I was like, and here's where she turns into a vampire for some reason.
And
it takes a day and a half or so or whatever, however long time it's been. Like some people it's instantaneous, sometimes it takes a minute.
I don't know vampire lore well enough except for in movies that don't reference each other. Same with zombies.
Yeah.
Like, can we all just have one consistent rule for everybody?
Right. Because, my
don't get cute with
understanding is that they just drink you to death and then they let you drink them a little bit and that brings you back to life. And if they don't let you drink them, you just die.
Right. Lost Boys rules.
Is that Lost Boys? That's also what we do in Shadows rules. So, yeah, those.
You're right.
So I feel like it's pretty consistent. We just go by that. But I guess there is the like sort of what about the drinkus interruptus, right? That happened there. Like he was in the middle of it and she stabbed him with a deadly test tube and he was like, I hate those. So what happens he didn't kill her, but I mean obviously she's got arterial puncture wounds at that point, right? So she's gonna bleed out.
Absolutely.
Especially because
she's dead.
He had anticoagulants in his saliva.
Oh, what's that about?
You missed that part? Okay, well you should just rewatch the movie because they talk about it a lot.
Yeah, that's the end of the movie.
It is. I just said my favorite thing to say at that part is good luck putting your makeup on now, girl. She's like mid makeup and then you're like, well, that's the last time you ever did that.
Yo, oh my God, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, she's like in the middle of putting on makeup and that's it. She's like, oh shit, is it?
How is she even looking in the mirror?
Well, she can see herself and then it's a gag where it's like she fades away. So like,
oh, she did?
Yeah. So she's like primping, I guess, getting ready for some othering. I don't know what's happening, but she's doing a thing and like looks relatively femme and as that happens, that's where her image fades from the mirror forever. So she transforms.
I totally fucking missed that. I don't know how I missed that. I was probably writing down something about Jodie Comer. I don't know.
Could be. Who's that?
The blonde woman on Killing Eve.
Okay.
A show that I've never watched, but I will always watch a promo for it. And Amelia totally reminded me of her. Oh, I see. So gotcha. I had to look it up.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And then I had to look up, she's talking to Mina in Mina's in bed, and she has like a hard punctuation on the name Harker. Like, it's very important that you know that Harker is okay. And I was like, okay, that's weird.
Right.
And I'm not familiar, like I said, so I had to look up who Jonathan Harker was.
Oh, yeah. And the Keanu Reeves character.
Yeah. He was also Bram Stoker's good friend who worked in a theater.
Oh.
And his great-great-great-granddaughters are acting still.
Okay.
Isn't that crazy?
That's interesting.
Like they are on
So he's based
BBC
on a real person.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. Just like Dracula.
Yeah, right. Well, I was going to say the other thing that Michael Ironside's character is based on a character from Dracula. He's not made up. It's Dr. Jack Seward. Do you remember when Lucy's suitors all come to be like, what's wrong with Lucy? And she's like already dead. It's like the cowboy, the doctor, and some other dude.
The Tin Man, the lion.
Well, they all have like this thing. And they go hunting Dracula, and the cowboy's like, yeah. It's a very weird part of the movie, part of the book. So he's might be played by Richard E. Grant in that movie. But yeah, Dr. Seward. And I thought that was a gag. Like they're calling him Dr. Seward. So at first I was like, is that a gag? And I looked up and was like, no, there is a Dr. Seward in Dracula. My bad.
I like it better as a gag.
I thought maybe it is a gag because they definitely call him like Dr. C-word. They're not like Jack. Well, they do call him Jack all the time. So
I loved Michael Ironside in this movie. He just looked happy to be there.
Can I ask you consistently, like, are the sort of former Hollywood stars that wind up in asylum movies usually happy? Because I feel like we watched in Planet Dune. No. It was it's Sean Young. I wanted to say Stockard Channing. So sorry. Yeah, Sean Young. She seems to be enjoying herself.
Yeah,
Michael Ironside seems to be enjoying. So it's like for me, the two I've seen, the Hollywood stars that are like that have the 15 lines and make the 10K or whatever, seem to be pretty happy to be there. But I wondered if there's like some that are like, I will read the line one time. That's it.
Every other asylum movie, actually has Eric Roberts in it. Every single other one,
right? And is he happy to be there?
No, he seemed really irritated in pretty much everything I've seen him in. Like really irritated, and he never leaves the one specific room. He was in Top Gunner.
You gotta keep the lights on.
Ape versus Monster. And I can't remember the other ones.
Yeah.
Anyway. So Jake, do you have a better title for this movie?
Oh, wow. Okay. The heat is on.
Do you want to hear mine?
Yeah, go ahead. Please do.
Okay, I got two. Corpse Tits.
Okay.
And
that's good.
Bram Stoker's Lesbian Cop.
Oh, yours are better than mine. Mine was Amelia, the original stupid vampire hunter. That's the best I got. Sorry. Lesbian Cop is way better. Oh, man.
It's not, it doesn't live up to it, but it's very descriptive.
I think you could put that on that poster and sell this in another country under that name. That's what I think you could do. Yeah, I feel like you could absolutely do that.
Do you have a favorite line from this movie?
Well, obviously the best, impossible is an illusion you create when you have the advantage. It's such a good, it's like the way it's said that it's like a thing we all know. This is just a given. This is a truism and we all live by this. When of course
that old saying that everyone says.
Exactly.
All the time.
Yeah. I love that. I love Speak of the Bat is great.
That is a good one.
And then he's othering women. He's out there othering women and then murdering them for their otherness is great. It's just,
he said other so many times, girl. What?
I know. What are you trying to say?
I already said my favorite lines, but give me your blood and What do we do once they walk into a nest?
Yeah. Real take charge, people. Give me your blood. How? Wait, okay, but like,
Do you
just like in a bag? Do you have like a
Tupperware?
We can put it in my vein and like drain it out? That's like the best way. We're not gonna spill a drop that way. But it's it's not messy. I know you guys like to get messy. I know you like that's part of the fun is like that's your jam, so I get it.
Like
but
a kid eating ice cream. We get it.
Precisely.
Jake, you got anything you want to promote?
I don't know. Are we promoting things yet?
Yeah, dude. Promote it. I don't know. Go ahead.
Okay. Coming soon in March, the internet's only reenactment true crime podcast.
Wow.
Faux Crime.
Nice.
With me, Jake, and also Tressa, right?
Yay. And me. I'm great.
So yeah, coming in March.
What's this podcast about exactly, Jake?
Well, it's about dramatic reenactments of famous crimes. So sometimes it'll be a TV show, sometimes it'll be a movie. Who knows? Maybe we'll do other things, but it's reenactments specifically.
Fascinating. I'm sure everyone will check that out. Right, gang? All right.
Gosh, I hope so. Otherwise, I'm screwed. Out the game.
Well, thank you everybody for listening this week, and I'll see you later or next week or whatever. Bye.
Yeah, bye. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Asylum Case Studies. Special thanks to homie Jake Quickel and a very handsome and talented Andy Slater, our mixer and engineer extraordinaire. Make sure to visit us at asylumpod.com, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, Stitcher, or whatever, so you'll never miss a case study. While you're at it, if you found any bit of enjoyment in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. Unless you're going to be a dick about it, then no thank you. So until next time, I'm Tressa Slater, and impossible is an illusion you create when you have